I always have this sort of argument with a lot of friends who enjoy those short form games, right? It's the idea, it comes down to this. It's pretty simple. MMOs require that many hours, you know, almost 1,000 plus to really get into a lot of the content, to have fun in terms of all the kinds of content you want to go through. Whereas these short form games like FIFA, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Valorant, Call of Duty, these games, you know, you can play for 2 hours. You'll maybe finish like 5 or 6 games or 7 games, but you'll feel accomplished, right? In an MMO, 2 hours, like you've maybe barely just done anything, right? Like your day has just started in 2 hours. You might have just maybe finished clearing a few raids here and there, but not everything, right? So it's just that in those 2 hours, you could do a lot more in those games than you can in MMO. Because in those games, 2 hours is like 10 games. Whereas in an MMO, 2 hours, you've just cleared maybe 1 or 2 raids. You've maybe gone and done a daily open world. You maybe did one PvP match if you squeeze something like that in. And that ultimately kind of, you know, maybe creates that short attention span. Because people don't feel that accomplishment in that they've done so much in those 2 hours while playing the game. And yeah, I think part of that is the culture. Attention spans now are different. People, like we see it in content now, people prefer short form content. That's what everyone tries to focus on. And that's kind of being applied to games. The more, you know, extreme example now where most of these games that are short form, like all these one-off that you play a match, you finish the match, and then you just go to the next one, are more or less more demanded than anything long-term, right? It's also especially why I think a lot of those solo player games, like once you're done playing Elden Rings or Red Dead Redemption 2, once you've spent your 80 hours, 90 hours, typically people just don't even go back for the side quests. Some will, but not everybody. So, and that's really it, right? And also another interesting thing is that it's also the fact that players will always consume content faster than it can be produced, right? In an MMO, an expansion comes out, maybe you have a few new raids, a few new instance content, maybe a new PvP map, storyline, achievements, rewards, new maps to explore. You'll probably be done with all of that in just a few days if you're really going to try hard. Everything, probably in 1 month tops, you would have tried everything out. And you're back to normal. Whereas these other game modes, it's the same formula, but they didn't just tweak a little bit in the matchups, right? Like they maybe add an interesting champion. Maybe they add a interesting game mode, for example. Like this game mode, for example, like in Fortnite, there's a no build game mode, right? Literally, like you enter the map, you don't need to build anything, so you can just play without building. And these small things that kind of just increases the lifespan while they just change maybe the map or change the weapons or increase buffs or stuff like that. And while that's not really as much compared to the work that goes into MMOs in terms of the content that they try to produce, it still feels enough. Wow, Diablo, Overwatch, all the major Blizzard games are going to have a major overhaul in their business practice to bring them to Game Pass. It's the entire reason wants to do this buyout to strengthen their lineup. The real thing is that it's going to be a pain about the merger. It's not even Activision or Blizzard. It's Microsoft securing a major foothold in both Apple and Google's market. Things mobile games, and that's going to be Microsoft's power move. I think it, honestly, I would have definitely not approved the move. I'm definitely for against a move like that because Microsoft already has a plethora of games that they've purchased up. They have plenty of studios already under their belt, which they haven't created. They just bought these studios out. So I think Activision Blizzard being alone should have happened. Because I definitely see another purchase happening. Microsoft could make the move, and while PlayStation lost the fight for this one, Sony, couldn't manage to convince anything to go, to prevent this deal from happening. They might have a bigger argument in the next buyout and say, well, they already bought this. Like, if they already not had a monopoly, they will now for sure. However, who knows? It might actually go towards the favor of Microsoft. I thought this one wasn't going to go in the favor of Microsoft. It kind of made sense not to, because it's Activision Blizzard is a huge company with a huge amount of game IPs that they've created with these companies. Having a sub fee for Game Pass that can actually make you play WoW, for example, for free is kind of nice. That would be interesting. That changes the game model, right? Or the business model quite a lot. I don't know if they do away with the sub though. It's just like, if they do, they're gonna have to maybe make a second option to accommodate it. But I don't think they would want to go away with the sub model for WoW entirely. A lot of money that you lose by just offering it in the Game Pass, because now you have all these access to the games plus WoW. I don't know. Yeah, sure, they have more subs on the Game Pass, but I'd love to see like what kind of, they've never released something like that. But I would honestly be interested to see how the analytics come out to be for that kind of stuff. I think competition is good. Now, please, we've seen how it can get really nasty. In a sense, though, I really hope to see more focus on, honestly, we need another MMO that actually works. New World was supposed to be that, and it didn't. It had everything going for it, and then they just decided to change their entire model a few months before it was ready to be released, and it wasn't even ready to be released, which is sad because now, people might be like messing on New World and everything, but the game actually has a proper plan for the foreseeable future. They have a roadmap for the next 1 year. The game is in a much better state. Like if the game released now, I think people would have been very happy. Unfortunately, it released at the worst time possible. The game was just not ready to be released. So, and before anyone says, but Ashes of Creation, to be honest, that game's dead before it releases. Ashes of Creation, like I've been waiting for that game when I was in the first year of university, right? That was in 2015. I am now, I think, my fifth year of working career in 2023. It's been 8 years. I've gone through a whole phase of my life waiting for that MMO to release, and it's still not ready. By the time it comes out, nobody's really paying attention. I think it will have similar hype, and then it will trickle down. Like, they have to be game changing now. And I don't know what they could do that could be very industry changing. So different, because from what I've seen, it looks like a good MMO, don't get me wrong. It looks like it could be a very nice MMO, but it's not going to be something I expect will suddenly attract like 3-4 million active players every day. It will have a high peak and then it will stabilize, and even if it makes 800 to 900k concurrent players, that's not bad. I mean, that would be a successful game. But I think people are going to overhype it so much that even if it is successful, people are going to be like, but it didn't get 3 million, it didn't get 4 million. And that's literally what kills a lot of games, is the overhype that people give to them. Besides being, not tuned very well, but different story. There's a lot of money releasing Starfield to Game Pass subscribers. They do it anyways. WoW might be a special case since it's a subscription model already, but Microsoft has already, so they don't care about sales anymore. They care about being gaming's Netflix. That's a very tricky and scary platform to be like, because then a lot of the other, nobody will be able to compete with that Game Pass, It's going to be very scary to have a Game Pass that can just offer you all these games like that for free. I think, I don't use the Game Pass so much, but there are some that require a bit of extra pay. But still, for the most part, it's like you pay this much and you have access to this much. So it's very scary. And the thing is, their Game Pass is a very much more interesting and attractive, I'd say, model than Sony's. Sony haven't come up with a very, because Sony holds itself very well with its exclusives, and they've built studios from the ground up. However, when it comes in terms of attractiveness and convenience, when you have something that's as cheap as that and inexpensive, it's gonna win at the end of the day. And yeah, even if they raise the price, it will be worth it. Absolutely. 100% will be worth it. Because you'll pay for what? You'll be paying for like over 90 games, right? And these aren't games that are... Some of them are sure single player, but there's a lot of multiplayer in those games. So you're paying for a long-term benefit. We'll see. Hey, maybe someone needs to come up with their own new game, you know? Maybe Steam needs to just undercut them and say, you know what? Every single game on Steam... Although they can't do that, but... It'd be cool to see. They're currently the largest, most stable, for lack of a better term, gaming Netflix platform on the market. There's no company, there's no control because they're setting it. Yeah, they also have come up with a very good model. The Game Pass. Also, honestly, Microsoft's winning with the fact that they even have their actual, system installed in computers worldwide. So they kind of have a huge advantage already. Easily they integrate it within their systems. So it's a huge disadvantage for companies like Nintendo and Sony. You're also comparing a company, Microsoft, which is worth over $1 trillion, versus a company or two companies that are both put together not even close to Microsoft's cap. Look, gamers, in short, Microsoft's gonna buy every single gaming studio in the world, and there's nothing you can do about it. How do you feel about that? You're just gonna watch them scoop up every single game, So you know what Sony needs? Sony needs a big money oiler. Give them the money to also do the same thing. It's gonna be a competition of who can buy the most studios. That's the future of gaming. Who has the most money to purchase all these games, all these studios, and then make you pay money for them all. That's it. That's basically it.